Hello YouTube, what's new? Well, a lot. What's new with you? I don't know, put it down in the comments below. What's new with me? I got a new desk. I actually talk about this desk in another video, but I don't remember what that video is about, so I'm probably not gonna post it. So I got a new desk to help me with studying for the bar exam, which this video is gonna be about, but we'll get to that in a minute. What else is new? Legal Eagle posted a video about reacting to Legally Blonde. However, in his video, he totally missed like the climax of the movie, which is where Elle Woods totally gives it to what's-her-face. I think it's Ellen Page. Yeah, the character's played by Ellen Page, I believe. But she totally like gives it to her with a great defense tactic when they're asking questions of the witness and getting the answer that they want, because not only does Elle Woods get a murder confession, but she also gets the witness to perjure herself. Like, classic. And instead, the good defense tactic, or the good tactic for interviewing a witness on stand who is on your opposing side, so basically you get to cross-examine them, was given to one of the guys in the movie instead of Elle Woods. Like, this movie is about Elle, let's keep the focus on her and talk about how this moment in the movie happens, because also, if he talked about that moment in the movie, he would also be able to talk about how you can get a provisional license when you're in law school. Typically not as a 1L, you don't have enough experience for that, but you can get it as like a 3L or even a 2L, which is something I did. I worked for a year and a half in law school under a provisional license, which is a little bar. You get a bar card. It's not your official bar card, but it is a bar card, and I get to work under the supervision of an attorney. And he kind of missed that ability to like talk on that point, which I found kind of weird. But yeah, he put out that video. What else is new? I don't really know. Oh, I watched Athlete A. Good documentary. I highly suggest you watch it. It's on Netflix. So yeah, let's... Oh, also, the last thing that is new is I got some suggestions from one of you guys about videos I should make regarding law school experiences. And I will do those, but not in this video, unfortunately. I will do those, because one of them, I've got a story. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the current state of the bar exam all over the country, but I'm going to focus more on Texas because that is where I live. That is the bar exam I'm going to be taking. So if you have been following the bar exam on Twitter at all, if you're going into law school, I highly suggest you do this because it gives you a very good insight on what your future could be and who's in charge of your licensure. Then you will know that because we're amidst a pandemic, there's been some issues with holding in-person bar exams, because in Texas at least, over 2,000 people apply to take the Texas bar exam in July alone. That's not including February, where it was probably closer to 1,000. So, if you know anything about what's going on in the world in regards to this sickness, and I don't really want to say anything in case this video does end up getting monetized once, I want to kind of try to keep my words to be not problematic in case this video does get monetized one day, which we all know it probably won't. So, amidst this sickness in the world, we all know that hotspots happen. And in Texas, there's a lot of those because Texas isn't listening to the World Health Organization or any organization really. They're just kind of doing what they want. And so Texas cases keep on rising, and it's not good. But what you might not know about the bar exam is the bar exam is often held in major cities in Texas, including Austin, Houston, San Antonio, El Paso, Dallas, and Waco. Now, like, I think 4 or 5 of those cities are some of the worst cities for the virus to date. So, yeah. They canceled the July bar exam, which is a smart thing to do because it's not getting any better, and honestly, it's dangerous for people of people of huge groups to convene into one small, not well ventilated area to take a test. It's not safe. So they canceled the July bar exam. So I gotta give them some props for that. But then they're like, we're gonna go ahead with the September bar exam in person. Now, here's the thing. The Texas Board of Law Examiners already split the July takers in half, because the first response to this whole nightmare was to only have half the students take it in July and force the other half to take it in September. So my studying has already been interrupted once because of this, because I started studying in May for a July bar, and that didn't happen. Because I'm retaking, I was forced to sign up for the bar exam late because I had to wait for my results to get back. So the way they split the July taker, the original July test up, is by when you signed up for the bar. So I was screwed anyways. I was going to be taking the September bar, and now they're going to say everybody's taking the September bar. And if you're not taking the September bar, you're going to be taking an online, untested October bar that, according to them, will only have 100 untested and unscaled NBE questions, either 6 or 12 essays. They couldn't decide that in their meeting, and they were going to use their own, and I don't think they ever decided about the MPT or the PNE. So that's fun. And then, like, when they were discussing how to do this October bar, they were like, it's going to be online, which is problematic considering just yesterday I was without internet for 2 hours as I was trying to study for the September bar. Oh, and by the way, the Texas website hasn't updated anything. There's no button to press to say I want to change it. It's taking them forever. Also, I noticed in their facts section where they like answer questions about this whole new process, there's a typo, so that's cool. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's take a step back from all of that and let's actually talk about the meeting that was held for the Texas Board of Law Examiners, where over 60 students gave impact statements about why the diploma privilege should happen. And before I get into that even, I want to say a few things about the bar exam and diploma privilege. A lot of you who have seen my Twitter might be like, why are you advocating for diploma privilege? It won't apply to you. It doesn't matter if it applies to me or not. Students' lives are at stake. My life is at stake. Regardless of if it would apply to me, if I'm the only one taking the exam, at least that means that all the students that get the diploma privilege are safe, if that makes any sense. I don't mind that I have to retake the exam. I have issues with the fact that, with how the Texas BLE has has grouped people who retake the exam, but that's going to come up later. So that's why I'm fighting for not just diploma privilege, but even like a apprenticeship. But the Texas Board of Law Examiners just didn't want it. So that's why I'm fighting for that kind of stuff, because it matters in the long run. It's not just something that applies to me, and it doesn't really apply to me, but that's okay. I'm okay with having to take the test. I mean, granted, we're all being called lazy because we don't want to take the test, but pandemic aside, you know? The other thing I want to talk about the bar exam is that you might not know this, but the bar exam is actually racist. And yeah, I said the word, there goes monetization if it ever happens. But yeah, the bar exam was actually put into place, at least in Texas, and it might be a little different everywhere else, but I'm pretty sure everywhere that has a bar exam has similar laws to this, and that the bar exam was put into place around the time that Black attorneys and people of color were coming into the profession, and so they put the bar exam into place to hinder them from being able to afford to take the bar exam because you have to pay, and they put a cutoff that was really high. If you look at the statistics for bar exams, people that typically fail it are women, people of color, and in people of color, African Americans and blacks are typically most likely in the highest percentage of not passing when compared to everybody else. So that's a great history for something to have, especially in times like these. So yeah, let's get on to the actual meeting that the Texas Board of Law Examiners had. And if you live in California, you actually experienced something very similar today. But let's get on to the Texas Board of Law Examiners meeting. So this meeting was 6 hours long. You can find it on YouTube. I will link it below if I remember to do that. And during this meeting, over 60 students, and not just students, I shouldn't call them students, we're all graduates, we're all JDs, we all have a JD. You might as well call me a doctor, because at this point that's all it's worth, even though you shouldn't call lawyers doctors, but we do have a doctorate degree. So they're all JDs. Some have already taken the bar exam, some have just taken the bar exam, some were actual attorneys. You had foreign LLMs come and talk, and every single person advocated for any option that wasn't an in-person exam, and that wasn't an exam, because of just how badly all of this can affect somebody. An untested online exam, that is so bad, especially considering the BLE has a history of really bad technology. I mean, just last year for the November results, the website was down for like 4 hours. They couldn't get a Zoom meeting to start. That's why they had to reschedule their Zoom meeting. That bodes so well. So yeah. I also want to note that one of the Board of Trustee members for the NCBE, which are the ones that create the MBE and the UBE basically, is actually the head chairman of the Texas Board of Law Examiners. And he didn't disclose that conflict of interest. That's an issue. Because while both of these things are for nonprofit, honestly, they're making money by giving this test. They don't make money unless they give a test. So there's ulterior motives. Not only that, he's not the only one. I think one of the Supreme Court justices from Arizona, I think, don't take my word for that. I'm not looking at my computer to actually solidify that fact. But one of the Supreme Court justices from one of the states is also on the Board of Trustees for NCBE. And if you didn't know this, the Supreme Court of your state is actually what makes the rule. So we're not following just Texas BLE guidelines for this bar exam. This was put down to us by the Supreme Court of Texas. So that's something to note. Also something to note that 3 directors from different states of their state's Board of Law Examiners are also on the Board of Trustees for NCBE. So keep that in mind. All they want is money. But let's go back and let's focus on this Texas Board of Law Examiners meeting. And if you watch it, you will be appalled. So while these students are giving their impact statements, I saw one woman take a phone call. So she wasn't paying attention. The same woman also had multiple conversations with someone off screen. I saw one of the board members scrolling through social media. One of the board members, if you follow this on Twitter, you will see that she is the definition of nodding off. And she claims it was an eye infection. However, she's literally nodding her head as her eyes are closed. So I find it really hard to believe that that was just an eye infection. And if you saw California's Zoom meeting today, there's a picture of one of their board members asleep, though some people are saying that he's looking through the bottom part of his glasses because of bifocals. Again, I didn't watch, there's no video of that, so I can't determine that, but the one in Texas was definitely sleeping. And she also tried to say that why is she being attacked because she's a woman who's stating her opinion, when that's not the reason that we're upset with her. Additionally, we're upset with the entire board, really, except for a few members who seem to have a brain, and we're advocating for something that was a more inclusive option. During this meeting, after the impact statements were given, the Diploma Privilege, which almost was what that was what everybody advocated for, including the 10 deans of the 10 Texas law schools was completely put off the table. Like, it was completely dismissed. First thing by the chairman, the one who works for NCBE. He's like, we're gonna put that off, that's not gonna happen. We've all agreed to that, basically. I've heard statements from students be misrepresented. I call them students again. Statements from JDs and graduates being misrepresented as wanting us to take wanting to take the exam, which is a complete misrepresentation of what everything was said. So they weren't listening, and that's really frustrating. I've seen on Twitter multiple times when students or when graduates who had been advocating for this have been threatened with their character and fitness not being able to be passed. If you follow Bar Exam Tracker, they are being intimidated currently about all this, and it's a frustrating time because we're not being listened to. If you look at the Supreme Court ruling about this, it was a 5-4 decision. However, the majority, the 5, didn't actually advocate for a bar exam. 3 of them advocated for diploma privilege, and 2 of them advocated for apprenticeship. I believe that's how it broke down. And because those 5 couldn't come to a consensus on that, we're having to take an in-person bar exam and a crazy online one-time only bar exam in October. So yeah, and originally this October bar exam, the BLE was saying that it was only going to be provisional and students would still have to sit and take another bar, and not students, graduates would still have to sit and take another bar exam. Can you believe that? I can't, and I listened to it. I listened to them argue about that for like 2 hours. It's mind-boggling that this kind of conversation is even happening, and their main argument is the competency of lawyers, and they want to make sure that they're keeping out the incompetent lawyers, so the ones who don't pass the bar exam. And that number is actually really small, especially in Texas, where the bar passage rate is usually around 90%. I believe that's correct. I think that's what the deans cited. And as someone who is retaking the bar exam, being called incompetent is insulting. I know people who have had to retake the bar exam and are doing so well. Chances are, if you have worked in any sort of law environment, at least one of your coworkers, at least one of the people you are working with, one of your bosses, at least one of them has taken the bar exam more than once. And to know that the small number that they are trying to keep out is because of incompetence, so they're willing to risk the health of thousands, is ridiculous to me. I don't like being called incompetent. I never have. I don't know anybody else who likes being called that. I studied law for 3 years. I went to college for 4 years, 4.5. We're gonna ignore that. I went to school. I studied law. And that's not enough for me to get a license to law. I practiced law in law school provisionally for 1.5 years. My second half of my 2L year and the entire 3L year, I was practicing law provisionally, and that's not enough. Even so, it's just frustrating, guys. You gotta understand that I am in a position where I'm being insulted by the people who are telling me that I have to take this exam, even though they're like, we don't really care about you because you already didn't pass, so you're not competent. We don't care. It's frustrating, and no one should have to feel like they're not good enough to practice law after they spent the money to go to law school, after they spent the money to pay for this test, after they have spent years of their life dedicated to practicing law, to be told that I'm incompetent. Excuse me? Like, if I could do editing, I'd like put in that meme of that dude that's like, yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. And what's even more ridiculous is that the BLE, in Texas at least, takes their jobs a little too seriously. I mean, they're supposed to assess competency. Well, one of the board members actually says we judge. I'm sorry, you're not the judge and jury here. She had to correct herself and say assess. But if the first word out of your mouth is we judge new attorneys, then maybe you aren't supposed to be in the position you're in. And the ironic thing is, the person who had all the issues, who was sleeping, who was supposedly sleeping, we're gonna keep with the allegations here because we don't want to be in trouble, because I don't want my character and fitness to be revoked, who said that they judge us, was actually put on the board because she replaced someone who perjured herself 10 years ago when the bar exam was happening, because they denied someone accommodations for dyslexia. So they've got a great track record going for them. But yeah, I don't understand why we're not being heard like we should be. Why there's such a blatant, obvious money goal here, and no one but the people who are advocating for a different option are seeing it. I mean, the fact that I only just found out that the bar exam is racist is a problem. So remember how at the beginning of this video I talked about the Legal Eagle video? Well, here's the thing. I'm calling you out, Legal Eagle. You need to speak out about this. You are the leading law channel on YouTube, and you've been silent. You're suing the government, but you're not going to talk about the future of the millions of lawyers that you talk to every single day on your YouTube channel, on your Twitter. You've been silent about this Board of Law examiners business, about how we are constantly being ignored by the Bar of Law examiners, by NCBE. Because you know what? The lady who's the head of NCBE didn't even have to take the bar exam, and she's telling us that we have to take the bar exam and that this is how you measure competency. She's from a Diploma Privilege state. She has never had to take a bar exam, and yet she's telling us that we should. That's a problem. So, Legal Eagle, this is a call out to you. Say something. Speak up. You have influence in this community. You have influence on Twitter. You have social media influence. The more that people will pick this up, the more will be done. I mean, Texas just canceled the state fair. You know when the state fair happens? In September. You know what's still going on in September right now? The Texas bar exam. Because most people don't want to risk a unknown factor of an online bar exam in October, where results won't come till December. And yes, we've always been able to practice in the meantime, but we also have to study. If I have to switch into an October exam, that's going to be the third time this year. Second time. That's going to be the second time that my studying has changed because of COVID. And what's even worse is the other option that we were given was we can wait and study for the UBE in February. That's a completely different exam. I mean, granted, the October bar exam is going to be completely different from everything that's been ever done, but that's a completely different exam that I have to study for. It's crazy that they're just like, oh, study more, study more, study more. What more do you want us to do? And they're saying that this bar exam, Texas BLE specifically, says that the bar exam measures competency. Well, most lawyers I know don't know all the law off the top of their head, even though that's what the bar exam tests you on, is how much law off the top of your head you know. Most lawyers ask for help consistently when they don't know answers to questions, when they need something proofread. Most lawyers have law books that they pull out. The reason why law school is mostly open note is because the legal profession is an open note profession. And they're saying this is what the measure of competence is how much you can memorize. When in law school, you're not expected to really memorize everything because it's all open note. I mean, you got to have some general knowledge, but not on every single topic at the same time. The reason why Texas has Texas essays is because we have 12 extra topics we have to learn on top of the MBE subjects. The MBE subjects are all subjects that are required at ABA accredited law schools that you have to take in order to pass law school. I've already been tested on these subjects, and I'm being tested once again years later, because usually the 6 core MBE topics, torts, contracts, real property, civil procedure, all that, those are the first classes you take. Those are your required 1L classes. And yeah, I would just like to see all of these people saying that this is the minimum competency for lawyers have to take the bar exam right now. If it's the minimum competency level, then every lawyer should always be able to pass it anytime they're given it. I can guarantee you they couldn't. And that's what's absolutely ridiculous to me, is they're saying that this is minimum competency, but let me tell you, I've been studying torts. The way that they're behaving about this pandemic and thinking that it's going to go down and trying to change it and trying to say that we're all lazy because we don't want to study, when really all we want to do is save our lives, save the lives of our families, because this pandemic is deadly. I forgot where was my train of thought going. Wow. It just poof, it disappeared. I was gonna say something. Now I'm gonna, oh Lord, what was it? Now I'm frustrated that I don't remember what I was gonna say. Right, so studying torts a lot. When they're saying all this extra stuff, they're creating things that don't exist. And they're wanting us to do all this stuff, to bend over backwards to get our license when our lives are on the line. And you know what? In torts, there's a reasonably prudent person. I don't think anybody on the Texas BLE really is acting like a reasonably prudent person. And I say there are a few that are different because they're the ones that opposed this crazy motion to put forward. Those ones are the good ones, but everybody else saying that we're lazy, that we actually wanted an in-person exam when that wasn't the case. Yeah, it's crazy to think that this is the standard for minimum competency when I'm not seeing very competent people on our board, on the jury, being the judge and jury, to kind of paraphrase the words of, not paraphrase, but like imply what was being said at that Texas BLE meeting. Yeah. Anyways, this video was really to not just voice my frustrations with everything that's happening, but also to call out to bigger law channels, to channels that are dedicated to law and like telling people about law school and stuff. Speak up. This is the time where you can make a difference. Speak up. And Legal Eagle, I'm going to specifically call out you because I know your audience is big. You need to speak up about this, because the more silent you are, the more complicit you are with the BLE, with the BLEs, and with the fact that our lives are in danger. So, yeah, serious video. Sorry that I got a bit heated. More heated than I did during my Newsies video, which I didn't think was possible because I was talking about Catherine Plummer. Plummer's her pen name. So yeah. I don't really know how I wanted to end this, but I'm just disappointed and frustrated with everything that's going on with the Texas Board of Law Examiners, it's so frustrating and so disappointing to clearly see that we're not being heard, and that people who are retaking the tests are essentially being called incompetent because we didn't pass it the first time. Law school is consistently about doing it perfect the first time. They don't like you redoing stuff. They don't like that you have to retake stuff. And that's why people don't talk about not passing the bar exam, because we're considered incompetent by the BLE apparently. And that silence has to end, because I'm not incompetent. Sorry. That's probably not what the BLE wants to hear. They probably think I am. I mean, they know I am, according to them. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna stop here because I could go on and on and on and on about this, but I'm not going to, because I don't see how me putting out like essentially the same thoughts over and over and over in different ways is gonna help anything. I just want to get this video out there, get people who maybe don't know about what's going on to get a little bit of an idea of what's going on, because it's not just in Texas, it's happening in California, it's happening in Florida, it's happening all over the US with bar exams, and the fact that we should be having a diploma privilege or something to negate the fact that our lives are literally in danger by meeting in large groups, which is what the bar exam is. So, Legal Eagle, say something. Use your platform. Do something, please. I'm begging you. Say something about this. Say something, please. And I'm hoping that I'm reading you right, and that you will say that diploma privilege or an apprenticeship is good. Don't make me eat my words here. I'm trusting you, Legal Eagle. Please say something to support us, to support the people that watch you. Say something about this. So yeah, that's all I have for y'all today. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Please interact with this video, because that will get it out to more people so they can see what's going on. It'll get boosted in the algorithm. Please just interact with this video however you want. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. I'll do my best to answer. I'm gonna link some Twitters below that are following the situation and have a bit better of a grasp of what's going on than I do, because mine is more of just like my emotional response. But there are diploma privilege Twitters that are actually like talking about what the various states are doing and stuff like that. So I will leave those below. I didn't explain what they're doing very well, but basically they're like giving a factual like statement of what's going on. So yeah, if you have any questions, comments, leave them below, like I said, and I will see y'all later. Bye!